Hello and welcome. This is Cosmic Tickle. My name is Gosha. I'm a holistic coach and mind body soul practitioner. This show is all about finding freedom, safety, fulfillment through creating life on your terms, which means a sustainable life without sacrificing your well-being in the process. Today I want to talk about conditioning, and not the conditioning you know about, but the conditioning that is happening right under your nose to you, and all the manipulations, the programming that are happening in these days, in this stage of your life, as well as whatever you received as conditioning, as programming in your childhood and in your growing up years. So this is something that is little known, and I'm not actually sure why. I am wondering why no one is actually talking about this. This is so obvious. It is also so underestimated and so harmful. I believe that this is something should be voiced more often, and that's why I wanted to make this episode about this topic. So I'm sure you've heard about conditioning, how the programming works since you are a child, how the voices of your parents, the teachers, culture, church, whatever, is feeding into your little receptive brain to sort of infect you with their beliefs, with their paradigms, with their worldview, and with what they want you to know, right? But what is happening beyond the childhood, of course, you are still relieving the programs that you received. So as you were taught to have, let's say, a scarcity mindset, like there is not enough for everyone, or I'm not going to amount to anything, whatever voices are still resounding in your head, then you are definitely going to act on it. So these are going to feed through your unconscious mind to your conscious, less conscious behaviors, but you as an adult, you would be acting out on these beliefs. But now, what did I wanted to talk about was that you are still unconsciously receiving programs, and you are still allowing, I'm sure you're not doing this willingly, but you are still receiving programs and manipulation from the outside. And today, in the world of technology and addiction to the internet and devices, it's even at the larger scale than maybe the previous generation had to deal with, because there's also the overstimulation of data that is coming to us. But let me just go to give you a few brief examples, let's call it case studies, of how this might look like. And I want you to really look at your own life as I do it and think, is that something that is happening in my life? Or maybe can I see kind of similar examples of how that might be happening as I explain it, okay? So I wanted to start by giving an example that I always give to my clients in my reintegration course, that let's assume you took a break from your work, right? And you maybe even love the work that you do, or maybe you had something important to do, but you took a break to switch on the app, the favorite app you have, let's call it Instagram, and you have doom scrolled for an hour or even two, because usually, when you get into this, It's like a, you know, black hole that swallows you. And you have doom scrolled and you've consumed all that content. You saw all these pictures from the people that maybe are offering similar service to yours, or maybe they do something you would want to do, and you've seen all the pictures, you've read all their captions, and now you wake up from this haze. You just like splash of, you know, cold water on your face, and you're just like, wow, okay, now I feel so bad. You feel like, God, I've seen all these things, and this person has that kind of business I would want to have, and I will certainly not amount to anything, right? Or you have seen a person have some sort of achievements, or maybe they have some things, like physical things in their life that you would want to have, like the house, the whatever environment that they live in, the clothes, whatever is on your mind. And you feel so crappy at this point, right? And what happens then is funny, because you didn't have that problem when you switched on the Instagram. You had maybe something to do at work, or you had something to do on your project, and all of a sudden you have this problem, right? It wakes up a problem in you that you didn't have just an hour before. And now you get into your head. Remember this point. You get into your head and you are trying to figure out, like, okay, this person has this profile description, maybe I have to change mine, right? So you go and just really brainstorm now how to change your profile description to sound more compelling to your clients, whatever. This is a common example, by the way, for my clients, so I'm just giving it. And you know, maybe another problem would be that you have scrolled and you see that person has maybe these belongings of some sort. They have beautiful house, they live in a beautiful setting, and now you get into your head like, oh my God, my house is shitty, it's in this bad neighborhood. My life is horrible, and it's all about my husband because he convinced me to stay in this town, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, which might be true, but just an hour ago, you didn't have that anxiety, you didn't have that problem. And as hours pass by, you are seeing your life as completely miserable, right? And all of a sudden you feel you have to do something. Maybe you are reacting by throwing an argument to your husband that, you know, has just bubbled up. Maybe this resentment has just decided to come up because you read whatever you read. Or maybe now you feel so bad about yourself, and maybe that person said how they got to have what they do, what you are envy of, and now you are trying to figure out how to get this, right? Because you have to have it. Okay, so this is one example. And another example is you are listening or reading something on media, like the mainstream media, whatever media, for what it's worth. And you are listening to this news and there's something bad going on, right? There's maybe something about climate change, and you feel so bad. You feel so anxious. You start feeling paranoid. You start feeling like you are helpless against what is happening in the world. You feel so small. It's not even the healthy anger that could be happening, but you feel overwhelmed and pressed by the magnitude of a problem, whatever problem you might have seen. Or, you know, there could have been, in the third instance, a person that undermines maybe something that is dear to you as a value. maybe they misunderstood, or maybe they didn't want to understand, maybe they are just having a bad day, what you wanted to say, and they accused you or said something mean about you not being a good person, you being insensitive, you just trying to cheat them, or just whatever, right? And now again you get into your head and you just, oh my God, maybe I did say something wrong, maybe I did say something insensitive, maybe I should change myself. All this self-doubt is arising, right? And this is, my dear friend, what I'm talking about when I speak about the day-to-day conditioning, programming, and manipulation that we receive unconsciously and we act on. Because before you realize that, you know, these streams of information are just streams from people, from sources that may have an agenda in their life that doesn't have your thriving and well-being in their priority, right? They have different agendas, most likely. Just like social media, their agenda is to, one, keep you addicted, two, keep you in fear and insecurity. Yes, this is an addiction. And I spoke all about it in my latest episode about trauma bonding by social media. So you can also listen to that. Also, media capitalizes on fear, and they feed you all the information that have been manipulated just in the way to provoke certain feeling. It's all about the feeling, my dear friend. And the other person, maybe they don't want to manipulate you, maybe they do, but most likely people are just self-concerned. So they think about what they want to have in their life. So it's not really about you ever. It's all about them. But what happens as you listen to different sources of information, then you absorb this and you make it about you. And that makes you try to figure out how you should mold yourself, how you could fit yourself in that situation to best self-protect, to best self-preserve. You see how all these things provoke a survival response in a human being. And the more insecure, the more in your head overthinking you are, the more you will react with anxiety, impulsive behavior, and acting for just a sheer need to do something, because we need to release that pent-up anxiety. And what the head does when you're disembodied, it gives you all these voices on how you could or should repair the problem that they just gave to you, right? So not only it gives you the problem, it also gives you the solution. It creates this drama in your life that wouldn't be happening if you were embodied, self-aware, and self-sovereign, right? And this is slavery, right? You become readily reactive, you become a puppet, basically, acting on whatever they might want to have you to do as an agenda, or whatever they want you to adjust to, whatever their perspective they want you to adjust to, say, force you to defend yourself, force you to explain yourself, or force you to take some sort of action that would be beneficial for them. And being disembodied is one of the key problems in this situation, and not having that mind-body connection where you can source your wisdom and your inner guidance from the depth of that thing that I call the mind-body, right? And I also spoke about that self-trust that comes from listening to your intuition and the authority and freedom you have to decide and choose for yourself. That is also a result of that. So now I wanted to ask you, can you recognize some of the mentioned situations in your life? And I'm pretty sure you do, because this is just a human experience. And at this point, I want you to also reflect how many times a day you might be allowing this to happen. Like literally. How many times you allow social media tell you what you're missing in your life, what you're missing about yourself, what is wrong with you. How many times you give credit to the other person, whether that's someone on a billboard, or are there still billboards? Yeah, I guess it's a figure of speech. If it's an advertisement, if it's a person, if it's your boss that undermines your competence, or maybe people at work that their agenda is to make you feel shit about yourself so that you start making mistakes. How many times a day you allow these things to happen? How many times a day you allow marketing to bullshit you and to convince you of something that you really need? Because without this, you are a hopeless case, you are worth nothing, and only when you buy this special thing, it will make you feel great about yourself, right? So I want you to really see if you can even count how many times a day does this happen. Okay, I'm pretty sure there is, I would say, at least 10 situations like that every single day. For a second, I want to get back to talking about embodiment. Why do I talk about embodiment? And why this is so important is because when these things happen, when we are stimulated by these outside sources, we get into our heads. And what happens, we detach from the wisdom that comes from the connecting of the mind and the body. And what happens next, you almost compulsively start reacting as if it's your body urgency, like this inner force asking for you to take some sort of action. So you might be, looking at your phone and you see there is a notification coming, someone said something on a LinkedIn post that disagrees with your article, let's say, right? And you feel the urgency to immediately get and respond to that and maybe fight. And there is this inner imperative that hijacks you beyond your ability to decide consciously. So it's almost like the muscle memory, like this knee-jerk reflex that happens when you absorb this information without conscious awareness, and therefore you become a slave. They all capitalize on your insecurity. They capitalize on your lack of direction. They capitalize on your inability to say, well, I'm still gonna do my way. I'm still gonna say what I want to say. I don't have to defend or explain. I don't have to prove myself. I'm just gonna say what I mean. right? And this is real power. This is real freedom. That's why, what I speak about with great passion is what I teach in all my offerings, is bringing freedom to the awareness and bringing freedom to choice, getting back what you were given as a human being, that only distinct feature to act on free will rather than on reactivity. As they capitalize on your low self-worth, they also increase or decrease the sense of self-worth. Because as you react to them, you reinforce that original seed that was planted in your mind. In defense, you continue in proving yourself, that undermines your direction, and that increases the self-doubt. So let's say you went in for a salary review and you say about how you're performing, you have a direction, you know what you're offering, and the manager says, yeah, but you lack this trait, and now you gotten into your head and you are reacting to this, you are defending yourself, and you're doing all these things to think how you are, that what they ask of you, but you've lost track and you lost the connection about the values that you do have. You've lost the connection with everything that you are already offering, and you are just reacting to this one kind of seed of doubt that was planted in your mind, and you've lost the whole game because you started doubting yourself. So again, it starts with reacting to the seed of insecurity, and then it gives you more of insecurity. You stay imprisoned to reacting. It's all about your choice to do what you care to do, what is needed in your life to evolve and progress on your terms. And the manipulations that are happening from the external sources are taking this away. When you are disembodied, when you are constantly overthinking, overanalyzing, figuring out the next defense strategy, and reacting without a thought, you always have a choice. These moments of life where you are put in front of a choice, are you going to react? Are you going to act like a puppet on a string, do whatever everyone wants you to, or acting out of the voices that have already been implanted in your mind long time ago as the programming and conditioning? Or are you going to choose what's best for you right now? Right? And so many times a day we do have that choice, and the choice for me is clear, and that's why I have worked on my self-awareness for so long that it has become natural that I can take choices all through the day that take me towards creating life on my terms rather than acting as a puppet in someone's movie and just doing whatever they want me to do. I'm not talking about doing something against other people, just to be clear. I'm saying something quite the opposite. I'm saying that you are not entangled, that you are not doing anything with the reference point of these other people, but you refocus on what is dear to you. What are your values? What are your priorities? What are your preferences? What defines you as a human being that you would want to materialize in your life? What kind of values and ideals you want to live by? And as you listen to that piece of news, how do you want to respond to that? Overall, I would suggest not watching news or listening or reading news. That would be my best response. And I've taken this many years ago. That's why I'm in so much more peace. The same goes for the Instagram and many social media. I don't do it. I don't scroll. I don't want voices be implanted in my mind and people telling me what I should do or shouldn't do, and be hijacked, my time being hijacked and my resources being squandered for a useless time spent on something that I could actually invest into creating life that I want, rather than fantasizing and beating myself for the life I don't have. You see, the 1 hour or 2 hours of your time that you do it, if you choose to either respond to like the first shitty news that you see on your phone, that should be a trigger point for you to say, hey, I don't want to listen to that anymore. I don't want to read that anymore. I choose to create what I want to have in my life. So maybe paint that picture in the next hour or two, or finish that work that you care about, instead of going into your head and questioning all your past choices. I mean, it's good to be challenging your choices, but as long as you do that consciously, not when people tell you that you do something wrong or they imply. So I want you to think about the next situation when it arises. Now that you know how many times a day that happens, to find it in yourself, to set an intention that whenever it will happen again, you will bring your awareness back to the choice that you want to take. And I explain all about the choices, how I make my choices, in the free guide. And you can download it from the description of this episode. It's perfect match for what I'm talking about today, actually. So it takes you through exactly that idea, how people take choices based on survival mode, on the scarcity and all that conditioning, manipulation, versus taking the choice for your greatest good, for what is worth, for what is meaningful and important in your life. And next time when you see whatever is that trigger, whether that social media post that makes you feel bad, or a piece of news, or that person that accuses you of doing something that you didn't even do, instead of just starting to defend yourself frantically and trying to prove how good you are, then choose what you want to do with that response. And most of the times you don't have to do anything. This is the beauty of this. It frees up so much time and resources and energy that your mind will be blown away as you do it for an extended period of time. You will see how much you have preserved of your energy, time, again, to do something that makes you feel good and something that you choose, because you really don't have to react to hardly anything. When you focus, when you have your intention and direction in life, that's all you have to do, and you don't have to let other people take you off that track and tell you, well, you're doing this the wrong way, I would do it this way. No, but now you need this thing and that will make it pretty good because I did it that way, right? And everyone wants to tell you all the ways you should do your life. No one really cares about what you want. No one really cares about what are your needs and preferences. And we all have different perception as well. So if you are a highly sensitive person, or maybe you have a gifted brain, or are, have some sort of neurodivergence, that they don't even know how your brain works. They can't even put themselves in your shoes, because you see the world completely differently than they do. So following their advice is at this point completely useless. Trying to compare your success to someone else's success is just a waste of time. Most of the time as well, we have a different sense of success when we align, when we are embodied. For example, you might start your embodiment journey with the state of mind that, yeah, I need to have 7-figure business, blah, blah. I need to have this admiration, I need to have this success, I need to be in front of newspapers. Does anyone read newspapers? Why keep I bringing these old school analogies? They're good, they're still good, because you know what I mean, right? But as you go along the journey of self-consciousness and self-sovereignty, you start navigating the life that's aligned to your ideals. And then you decide, wow, I'm actually a private person. Why would I care to be on the billboards? Why would I care to have 1 million of followers and having to deal with all the people that send me hateful emails out of nowhere, all the strangers that tell me all the things that I should change about myself, and I feel threatened like some, influencers are? I'm not saying you to fear. I'm just saying that you need to align your vision of success and your goals, not to the goals that people tell you to have, but the goals that respect your needs and your tendencies, right? If you are a sensitive person that cares for direct contact, one-on-one contact, why would you care about not having millions of followers and having group programs and having memberships? This is something that would overwhelm you all the time anyway, and you wouldn't have enjoyment of this interaction. We need to align our visions and our goals to what we want, to what's dear to us, not to what others tell us should be our goals, and then creating problems in our heads to solve. That when we would solve, we would still not be happy, because the seed was poisoned from the very beginning, right? So this is my idea for the conditioning, programming, and manipulation that is going on in adult life. And I hope it has been interesting for you to reflect and think about it. And I encourage you to really set that intention in your life to, whenever that things arises, when you are being hijacked, that you really remember what I was saying today, that you really remind yourself, am I choosing what they want? Am I choosing from someone else's agenda? Or am I choosing how to create my life on my terms? And for that, just a reminder, download the free guide that I have. And if you need any support directly helping you with your challenges, you know where to find me. You can contact me through cosmictickle.com. There's everything about embodied reintegration program that I run, the one-on-one program, and you can find all the details there. But for now, I thank you for listening today. Thank you for reflecting, and I will talk to you very soon.